What's up, guys? It's Sam, or the Portuguese Mofo here, and let's do another terrain analysis video for Foothills. Okay, so yeah, doing this in the Avatar Conquest, right? See the key buildings. It's funny, it does count as losses in this, so it's actually just a thing to know and understand. It actually does count AI battles. As wins and losses on that count. For some reason, I don't know why. I was thinking it didn't do that, but it does. So just a interesting note I realized last time I was doing this. But yeah, the foothills, right? So we've got two cliffs here, right? Impassable terrain there in the center, right? Our foothills here, okay? So, right? Two areas of impassable terrain here. We can hit start. All right. We got our three dojos that sit across the middle of the map here. You know what? And this map, first, I don't want to say the first time. Last time I actually remember playing on it was when I got invited to the group by Strategy Master of the Multiverse. We fought right in here, and man, I just remember it was a great match. But like, I just remember just playing and making some really silly mistakes. Like, I had all my katanas here intended to charge, and it was actually, I didn't click, because, I had them in a control group to charge, and they didn't, and just got shot in the face. Just a full line of just match locks, just bang, if I remember correctly. Or they got charged. I'll have to pull up that video and do a commentary soon. But anyways, that's a bit of a tangent. This is a terrain analysis. So, right, foothills as suggested, right? It's hilly here. Okay, we have some good little networks of trees here, right? So that's not impassable, right? But we got these little cliffs here that are impassable. Okay, and right, how these are set up too. Okay, if you can, now it's like the same thing, right? Where it can be hard. So actually, I think how this one's set up quite specifically, matchlocks probably would do pretty well up here. How close to the edge you can get, right? It can just be weird. You think it would just be like money, but you do have to position them right, and then their line of sight. Like how the edges work sometimes can be a little funky. But right. But also, you get back behind here, right? You get cover if you stay tight, right, to the edges of these cliffs as you move, right? It's another way to keep and maintain cover, especially if somebody has artillery, right? Things like that, okay? But right here in the center, right, pretty flat. There's some slight elevation changes here, okay? Yeah, really, right, it just comes down to this road that connects all the dojos together. Got a little fork here, a little, call it grove of trees here in the middle, where you can hide units, so something to note. Right, seems like an obvious hide point for units, but it's there, right? But you also have these little strips, right, where you could probably conduct some movements, right? So little pocket points for ambushes. However, I wouldn't say this is the best map for ambushing, but you do have some areas for it, right? And right, whenever you have Keisho training units, proper employment, it really can happen on any map. And that's what it really comes down to. So, but I do really like this map. Right, it looks cool, and I think this map just gives you a lot of versatility, right? Like, sure, there's the forest, there's these two cliffs that obstruct your movement, but right, with all that being said, it is fairly open, right? So cavalry, right, can be effective just because of the really just kind of how open it is on these corners, right? If you're getting stuck behind the cliffs, you might have some issues just as far as getting to the fight. you know, in a well-timed manner. But I think ideally, though, for a map like this, you're probably going to be balanced. I think balance is a good approach here, just because with the cliffs and how it's set up with the dojos here, right? Because the dojos indicate a lot of play, like how this is set up, like the ground would probably be fought for right here, right? Which I would say gives the host in this situation a little bit of an advantage, just because you're going to be able to really use this cliff, alright, this hilltop here, alright, this foothill, alright, as the map would suggest, okay, covers both the workshop and the sword dojo, which are definitely going to be the two most important, right? The farmhouse over here, right, the stamina and the movement speed of all units, that's definitely helpful, be more helpful later. If you are trying to rush, that could be helpful, right? But these would be the dojos, right, the shrines, that the key buildings is really what I should say, right? Because sword dojo, right, workshop, farmhouse, the shrine is for morale, okay? This is where it would go down, right? But like in the match that I'm recalling with Strategy Master, right, I don't remember the exact key buildings, but the more important ones were these two, if I'm not mistaken, because this is where we focused our attention. Again, that's just going off memory. So yeah, but again, just a cool map. I don't know if you're ever going to really end up out over here, right? It has these extra dojos on the end, which is cool, honestly, right? With these little cliffs next to them. Not that you'd ever fight them. You know, it is one thing I am curious about. You know, when you expand the maps, right? And they made maps of different sizes so that you could have, you know, 3v3, 4v4, 4v4, stuff like that. I'm just wondering, right, like, how do maps adjust, or do they adjust when you put more people on? You know, it's not something I ever really tried to, you know, take note of, I guess. You know, playing 1v1s versus 4v4s. Just a mental note to myself to take a look at stuff like that. So yeah, Foothills. This is a cool map. Gives you a good opportunity to do everything. So it's like if you do get this map, right, you have a lot of flexibility with how you build, right? At the end of the day, right, your army build, and it comes down to your execution, right? Your decision making, the iterative decision making process, right? Making good decisions in the moments, understanding the mechanics, and then executing upon those mechanics. So very good. Yeah, we'll keep that here for this one. Okay, Foothills, a little terrain analysis, maybe a little bit more just random chatter this morning, but it's all good. If you come across this, I hope it helped. At least give you a look at the map, so, and where the dojos would be set up. Right, when it comes to the competitive play online, right, like having an understanding of your maps and the terrain that's on them definitely goes a long way. So anyways, thanks for watching.